Hey, everybody, and we are live with Office Hours episode. Is it 24, Olivia?
Yeah, 24. 24 it is.
Office Hours number 24. So that means we've almost been doing this for a half a year straight, which is pretty excited. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this 30 minutes of exciting recap of everything going on in the military transition. It's me. You all know me, and hopefully you all know Olivia PB.
Yeah.
You know me and Olivia PB. The magic behind all of these sessions. Thanks for joining us, Olivia.
You're welcome. I'm wearing a hat today, my winter hat in honor of all of us in the southern part of the United States who got snow this week.
Oh
So,
my God. I
yeah.
was I was talking to one of our friends in the Navy, and they shared that Pensacola got like 8 to 9 inches of snow, and that the idea of 8 inches of snow on a beach in Florida made me a little confused. Like, I do not compute. They said the temperature at one point was 3 degrees above zero, and I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if all those houses have the insulation, and bet you people don't have winter clothing, and I'm like, just stay in, people, just stay in. So it is a crazy world we are in right now. To stay along that before you jump in, Olivia, the other crazy world is that the Commanders went up and won their last game against the Detroit Lions and are going to come to Philly on Sunday and play my Philadelphia Eagles for a trip to the Super Bowl. And, if you're an NFL fan, you really don't want to come to Philly to play against the Eagles. And so I am very much looking forward to Sunday at 3 p.m. I will be celebrating Sunday evening, or you will not be hearing from me for a little while. So, being that I live in the Northern Virginia area, but that is a Randall Cunningham jersey from the Randall Cunningham Philadelphia era. That is an old jersey, and I will still wear it for almost every game. And so, if you are attending, let us know who you're rooting for this weekend. Unless it's the Commanders, then just stay silent. We don't want to hear that. Olivia.
Fly, fly.
Eagles fly. The other thing I'd like to, call out our partner that is sponsoring this effort, Veteran Service Brands. Some of you may have seen my posts in the first week of January. I spent about a week down in Clearwater, Florida, and I'll tell you, it felt cold enough to snow some mornings, but we were there with this Veteran Service Brands team. And I think what is really exciting about VSB is they are a franchise organization that all of the franchise partners have to be veterans. So everyone that runs a Veteran Service Brands franchise is a veteran. And so you get that level of quality that you would expect from our community. They do everything from parking lot striping, which blew my mind how well that's going on, but I see what they have to do. And typically parking lots have to be restriped every 2 to 3 years. They do epoxy floors. They do commercial and residential painting. They do field ops. And they got a bunch of cool other opportunities with air blasting that they're doing. I forget the cool name that they're coming out, but they have a lot of these really cool franchise opportunities. And I spent the better part of a week, hanging out with, talking business, talking marketing, talking LinkedIn with a lot of veteran business leaders. And I'll tell you, it was amazing. It was amazing to spend that time with those entrepreneurs. To hear about how they love what they do, that the money they're making, and how passionate they were about supporting their communities with their services. And so, what I'll say is we have franchise opportunities at Veteran Service Brands. You can go to Hire Military and check that out, and we can connect you directly with their team all over the country and Hawaii. Because the guy I was stuck in the elevator, power went out to the island. I was trapped in an elevator. I started to try to go to diehard mode and push the tiles so I can just climb up and say I did it. And they didn't open. It was all metal. But it turns out I was trapped in the elevator with a Navy SEAL from Hawaii. And so we chatted. There was no stress. We're like, we're cool. But I will tell you, check out Veteran Service Brands if you're considering a franchise. I always tell people, if you're getting out and want to go right into business and haven't owned a business previously, a franchise may be the right fit for you. Just not all franchises are created equally. when it comes to services, when it comes to support, when it comes to costs. And so do your research. But we do stand by the VSB brand. And then if you need any of those services, like if you need, our CEO, Nick Gismondi, got his I visited him and his garage floor had to be redone. And I'm like, why don't you get it done epoxy? And he reached out to the Mach 1 team and they came up and redid his whole floor. And I'll tell you, it is amazing. And it comes with a lifetime guarantee. So check out VSB. I stand by them. They're a great team, and I love supporting our veteran entrepreneurs. All right. What do we got, Olivia?
Yeah, chats are kind of quiet today. So if you're out there, let us know. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what you guys know this week and where. Were you in Florida? Did you see snow on the beach? I'm curious to know. So, but let's get into our topics of the day, Mike. Here's one. Here's a good one. So, what is the number one question that you ask a transitioning service member when they come to you asking for a career advice?
Yep. This is an easy one. The very first thing I ask is, how many people in that field have you spoken with? Because a lot of times someone will come to me and say, and I'll say, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I want to do a project manager. I want to do HR. I want to go into sales. I want to go into IT, whatever. And I'll say, okay, how many people in that field have you spoken with so far? And they look at me and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, how do you know that's what you want to do? How do you know what people in that job do every day? And how do you make yourself a best candidate if you don't know what they do, what their challenges are, what metrics they track, what their biggest successes are, what their boss's priorities are? If you don't know that stuff, you don't know, one, that you want to do that job, and two, that you're qualified. And so a lot of people, I think, get caught up in, they hear a job title or program or project managers. There's a great career path in project and program management. They're different things, different tiers, but I don't think enough people really go do enough career exploration to determine whether or not they need to earn their PMP or whether they want to be a project manager. And most importantly, what type of project manager, what industry, what role, what specific, type of project management role you want to have, because they're all industry based. Same thing with HR. I was a retired sergeant major. I thought that I loved taking care of people, doing training and evaluations, feedback. I want to go into HR, until I talked to about 7 people in HR. And I was like, beep, hold on. I would suck at that. It would not be my strong point because I'm too direct. And they don't need someone to be that. And so once I explored HR, I learned all the things they're involved in. I realized I had to do the career exploration to find something next. So for everyone I talk to, if we get to a conversation and I say, what do you want to do? And you're like this, and I'm like, how many people in that job have you spoken with? If it's not like 7 to 10 or more, and they have to be at the right level, your level you want to go in or higher, you are not ready. Period. End of story. So the beauty of it is, the benefit we have over every other group out there is that you can reach out to millions of veterans that have been where you are, that are in those fields, in those jobs, in those companies, in those industries, and say, hey, I notice you're a veteran that found your success doing XYZ. I'm in the Army, I'm in the Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, Space Force, whatever it is. I'm getting out in a year, trying to figure out what's next. Do you have time to connect and maybe give me a call? And I guarantee you the vast majority will say yes. They'll be happy to share their experience, their knowledge, their insights, point you towards resources. And if you make a good connection, you don't ask for a job right away. You just have a good conversation. You listen more than you talk. You ask good follow-up questions. You send a thank you note. You might just find yourself a mentor that will open doors for you.
So since we're on the topic of informational interviews, I kind of want to talk about something that I've heard you say. Every conversation is an interview. So what does that mean in the context of an informational interview?
Yeah, I mean, so one, I appreciate you changing things up on me to keep it fresh. That was supposed to be a later question. I like it.
Talking about informational interviews.
Yeah. So, I was talking to a senior leader today that put in the work, followed up, all the other stuff. And so we set up a call, and they said, look, I'm just doing the informational interviews. And when I get to them, a lot of times about halfway through the interview, they realize that they're interviewing them instead of just having a conversation, that they're kind of teeing them up, assessing them for a role. And they're like, I don't feel like I have my elevator pitch and all the other stuff prepared. And so what I explain is like, I think that is where we kind of get sideways when it comes to the transition, especially as you start to progress to more senior roles. People get locked into what they think the process is, right? So it's elevator pitch, the I love me speech, it's, star format answers, I am robot, like this, situation, task, action, result. And they think that that is what an interview always has to be. And so I will tell you that there is incredible benefit to practicing an elevator pitch. There's incredible benefit to having 3 to 5, examples of stories that you can tell in a star format to answer a multitude of questions. Like, have that practiced. But when you're in every conversation you're having is an interview. Everyone. And it may not be for a job at that point. It may be whether I want to introduce you to someone. It may be that I know what you do in the future and I think of you when an opportunity comes open. And the most important part when someone gets to the interview phase, like the real interview phase, not the recruiter screens, not to tell me about a time whenever, the real thing is this, right? It is, are we connecting? Are you somebody I want to work with every day, right? And are you going to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and work, right? Like, are you going to carry your weight? Are you going to be productive? Are you willing to work? And I will say that that comes from knowing your poo. I'm not going to curse on office hours. Knowing your poo, but you know what I would have said. That comes from understanding that if you want to go be an HR manager and you're talking to people at HR, if you've already spoken to 5, 7, 10 people and you ask the right questions, exploratory, career exploration, you know what they spend their time on. You know trends as far as what their biggest challenges are. You know what metrics they have to track and where they prioritize things and their successes. After you've done 5, 7, 10 of these informational interviews, you've already got the stories because you thought back to times when you've done that and you're saying it to them not as a robot, but in words they understand, right? You're talking about headcount instead of manning. You're talking about, you're talking about P&L instead of, responsible for. You're talking about all the terms. You're talking about pipelines. You're talking about, all the scheduling. You're talking about scope creep. You're talking about, employment and labor law, unions, whatever it is. But you're talking about the things that are relevant to the job that they are looking to fill or to the field that they are talking to you about. The more you say it in their terms, the more you know what you're talking about, and you speak things in relevant examples, the more you become a best candidate.
No, that's really good. So let's say you're in that stage. You're just doing discovery calls at this point because you're not quite sure what you want to do post-military. It sounds to me that you still want to treat it as if every call is an interview. You still want to put your best face forward. You still want to treat everyone, with that professional regard. How do you sort of preface that conversation to put your best, put your best foot forward, but while still saying, hey, not really quite sure what I want to do next, just here for some discovery. How do you sort of introduce that conversation?
So I think that's the key. Like, highlight what you have in common up front so they can see it right off the bat. Say something nice about their career success. Let them know that you're getting out in a period of time and you're just trying to figure out what's next. Don't ask for a job. Don't send your resume to a stranger. Just ask for some advice and maybe if they have time to connect on a call. And I think you'll be surprised how many veterans will say yes if that's the ask. And look, the key to this, and I know it's not going to help everybody this way, is starting before you need a job. Like, that is the key. The moment you are in that 1 month out or you've been out for a while and you start to you're struggling because you need a job, like, that is when that need starts to bleed through in your communications. It starts to bleed through in your connection requests. You get on a call and you're like always trying to get to the job, get to the sale. And then it starts to feel awkward and transactional. And so my advice to everyone, and this is life now, like it or not, is to always be networking. Dedicate a few minutes each day to, connecting with people, sharing content, sending a note, you commenting on other people's stuff. Just add it to your schedule, calendarize it, whatever, but make sure you do it just a few minutes every day is enough to keep gradually growing your network, building relationships. People know who you are. So you're not the I'm back people. Hey, everybody, it's been a crazy 2 years. I'm back, which means, oh, wait, you got yours 2 years ago and then went, I don't need you anymore. And now you need something again, you're back. That is transactional, right? Some people may be fine with it. Some people may see and be like, oh, they're only here because they need something. And that is not relationships and trust. And so if you can just drip, drip, drip a little bit every day, whether it's a comment, whether it's a post, whether it's a share, whether it's a message to someone, congratulating them on an event. LinkedIn does remind you on work anniversaries and stuff like that. Just a little bit every day keeps you tip of the tongue. It keeps you right there in front of them. People know that you're still present. They know you're still there and that you're supportive and you don't need anything. And that's when you really start to build relationships and trust.
Very good. Well, thanks for that. So let's pivot a little bit. Talk about something totally different. Voice messages. And what's up with people just not setting up their voice messages? And how can you get a job seeker in trouble?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different takes on this. So the story is, we shared a resume with one of our partners. The person gave us permission to share it to a partner. We shared it to the partner and they were interested and they called the person multiple times. Multiple times they called them to talk. And this job seeker didn't answer multiple calls, not like one right after the other, multiple calls from the same number. Their voicemail was not set up and they didn't return the call. And so what happened is the company said, all right, we're going to move on to the next candidate. They weren't responsive. And I've actually had another recruiter tell me once, how responsive a person is during the job seeking process is a good indication of how responsive they will be as an employee. And so for this instance, that person lost the opportunity. And I will tell you, I've had a lot of back and forth interesting things on this topic. But if you are a job seeker, you got to answer the phone. I don't like it. Maybe I screen my calls. Okay, then you're not a really dedicated job seeker. You don't want to make it hard for recruiters or companies to call you. There are small businesses out there that may have amazing opportunities, and it may not be a dedicated recruiter. It may be a VP or a manager or an HR person calling you when they have the time because they want to get it in and see if they can chat with a human being. You've got to be reachable and responsive. Now, if that individual had their voicemail set up, they would have left a voicemail and they could have called back, but they did not have their voicemail set up either. And so that went. Now, I've had the easy button. Everyone's against me. People say, well, who calls these days? They should have sent a text. And I've had several recruiters. Luckily, I think one of them was Delana Morris jump in and say, whose phone are we texting from? Am I texting you from my personal phone number? Am I giving that to thousands of candidates I interview every year? No, that's not going to work. And then I've had other people say, do by email. And I will tell you, that is not a lock either. And so at the end of the day, if you are a job seeker, you've got to check your spam folder. You've got to have your voicemail set up and you got to answer the calls. And I will tell you, I get spam calls all the time as a business owner. I can't tell you how many calls I get people trying to sell me stuff or how many I answer. If it looks like it might be a legit number, I answer. They got the 2 second before I hear the boop, and then I hang up before they could say anything because I'm not playing that. But every once in a while, it's a potential client. Every once in a while, it's someone I gave my number to that I was helping, or it might be an opportunity to come speak. Those have all happened. And if I didn't answer my phone, we would have left all that on the table. So
that's a really good point, though, about the text messaging, because that would have been my first thought, like, well, what's wrong with texting? But where are they going to text from? They're not going to text. personal phone. And so they may be calling you via like Google Voice or an office phone or whatever. And so, yeah, that's a really valid point. So
Yeah.
bottom line,
Delana Morris commented that, and I was like, thank you. Like,
yeah,
thank you.
That's a very valid point. All right, so let's pivot once more. We have one more topic to discuss today. There have been a lot of changes to the DoD Skill Bridge program. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So for people that aren't tracking, so DoD Skill Bridge. Let's talk about DoD Skill Bridge, big picture. And we are one of the original providers of Skill Bridge after HOH, who was the original largest organization doing it. But so DoD Skill Bridge, or the Army Career Skills Program, because the Army always has to call it differently, is a program that allows transitioning service members within their last 180 days of service to do internships, apprenticeships, OJT, job shadowing, and training opportunities, right? Basically anywhere in the country for 3 to 4 months. The catch is that companies are not allowed to compensate the service member for their work, right? And we've got all the Department of Labor opines on this. It is legal, but it's not an unpaid internship because the service member is still getting all their pay, benefits, medical insurance, everything else like that. It's like their commander said their place of duty is at ABC Corporation for the next 3 to 4 months to learn how to be a production manager, right? And so they come in 40 hours a week full time, and they learn how to be a member of your team. They work as a member of your team. And what it does is it gives companies a chance. They can take a chance on talent, right? You see a lot of job ads out there. They're like, I want this. And there might be a few systems or programs that the service member doesn't have because they don't do it in the military. But you meet them, you talk to them, and you realize they're a high performer and that you can teach them that, or at least you're pretty sure you can teach them that. Well, that's where SkillBridge comes in. You can bring them in pretty much risk-free for 3 to 4 months and give them a running start. And then for service members, it gives them 3 to 4 months, typically full-time, to get a running start on the next career and see if that's what they want to do. And so SkillBridge has been expanding every year. I think last year I remember talking to Ivan Denton. I think he said there was over 20,000 service members or approximately 20,000 service members took part in DoD SkillBridge last year. Don't quote me on it, but it was a large number, which is fantastic considering really no more than about 10% of the force will ever be able to take part in it at a given time because, you know, the mission still exists and commanders have to balance the needs of the unit against the needs of the service member. So all of that is to say the program is changing, right? Not anything I've said previously. But what was previously allowed is that you had MOUs were given out fairly frequently, the memorandum of understanding to companies to just do OJT, job shadowing, training, internships, you know, whatever. And they were not, there's a lot of ways that could be abused. I'm trying to figure out how to say this the right way. So there were, the intent of the program was to give at-risk service members a pathway to careers, and that the internships had a high probability of continued employment at a living wage. And so now, as DoD looked at all the programs that were out there and all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of MOUs that were out there, what they realized is that some were not in good faith using the program. Some service members were not in good faith taking a program that led to employment. They were taking stuff to just basically have time off, and that they needed to put more structure into the program. And so what they've been working for, and I encourage you to go to the OSD website, the SkillBridge DoD website, to look through all of this. They have information sessions. It's all available out there. But on June 30th, the system changes, right? And what it requires, there's a couple different things. One, every company that hosts a SkillBridge intern is going to be required to have an MOU, right? So even if another third party does it for you. So if you work with us and you're going to get interns after June, you're going to be required to have an MOU. Now, the beauty of working with higher military is our team can, and we've already done this for some of our clients, is we are authorized as a third party to submit all the paperwork on your behalf. So a member of our team will work with you to collect all the documents, submit it to OSD, get everything to you so you can review it with your legal team, sign, DOD signs, and you're golden. You have an MOU. We have our own MOU to process them all. And then, so everyone's going to have an MOU. The challenge to this is they're only going to open up the new MOUs twice a year. So if you are not in that application period, you cannot apply. The next period, I believe, is February 1st through the end of March, right? If you don't submit for an MOU during that time, you're not eligible to the next time period, right? And so you got to get it in. They were very quick and responsive in a turnaround for us when we got them all the right information for our clients. So I will say the new MOU is another one. There is a requirement for job offers. So 75%, the goal is 75% of your candidates need to receive a job offer, and they are requiring a certain number of interns per size of company every year. So based on the size of your company, you're going to be expected to do X number of SkillBridge candidates, and then X percentage of them are going to get job offers. And then salary requirements, they're requiring that the follow-on jobs have a salary of at least $52,000 a year, but basically $26 an hour. So, they have to be the right roles to make sure that nobody's putting them in a commission-only roles and stuff like that. And then, that is really the biggest thing, aside from there's going to be new reporting requirements. They're working towards actually you're going to have to list every opportunity on the SkillBridge website under your team, and then you're going to have to attach candidates to it when you apply online. That's the long-term goal. So this is a lot of work for companies that do not have dedicated SkillBridge personnel. And so what I shared in that post this morning, you're welcome to go look at it, is that if you want to do SkillBridge this year, later this year, next year, whatever, it is in your benefit to find an organization to help you through it if you don't have full-time SkillBridge staff. And we've got a couple different programs where we'll manage it for you, give you candidates, you interview them, you screen them, you say you want them, and we'll process everything, make sure everything gets handled through D&D, everything else. Or ones where we'll just process the ones you find for you at a much lower rate, and we'll help you with the MOU on the side there as well. So, and then we've got our marketing and influencing program, our Alliance program, where even if you have a great SkillBridge program, you got dedicated staff, but you're not getting enough candidates. It's a great way to list them on our Hire Military page, get them sent out to the VA newsletter, put all over the place, so that you get more candidates for the jobs, and it's a subscription package. There's no follow-on fee. So a lot to take in, a lot of changes. And I'll just say that, we started this company to be able to help connect service members with amazing companies. And so if you are an amazing company that wants more of our community, that are most likely going to be willing to work on site, reach out, shoot us a note, and we will happily have the call and see how we can help you.
All right. Yeah, that about wraps it up. I will just as we close out, Imani, we don't have time to answer this one today because this is a long answer, but
I got the answer. You got it. Go. You got it.
Tonight, in just a few hours, there's a mastering LinkedIn sponsored by the USO. Super easy to find. Just go to just Google USO transitions. You can find the registration page that way, and Mike will teach you all about how to leverage LinkedIn.
And I will say you could also Google USO MVP, like most valuable player, but it's actually military virtual programming. But USO MVP will bring up that page with all of the virtual programming, and mine is probably the top one now since it's today. So nice. There's still time to register. I spent 2 hours walking you through the entire process. Hopefully we see you tonight.
Yes. And with that, we'll see everyone next week. Have a great one. Stay warm. Stay warm out there. Bye, everybody.